Good afternoon, all. My name is Saurabh Singh. I am from Bharati Vidyapit College of Hotel Management, and our team has uh, uh, our team has arranged this webinar for you on a topic which is quite underrated, on a beverage, in fact, which is quite underrated, which is tea. So I hope most of you must be aware that tea is the world's most consumed non-alcoholic beverage after water. Around because of India and China, thanks to the population of India and China, it is one of the most consumed beverages. But the lack of knowledge in our country is a point of concern. We don't respect tea as much as the others do. If you see, most of the big tea companies are European and not Indian, in spite of India being the second world's largest tea producer. Okay, so on board we have very special guests who are heading an organization which is known as Asian School of Tea. It is a school basically which provides various tea courses, a tea sommelier course also. For those, there are many participants who are from non-hotel management backgrounds also with us. So you might not be familiar with the term sommeliership. So sommelier is basically an expert in a particular beverage. Like we have wine sommelier, or we have tea sommelier. So tea sommelier is a person who knows in and out about the tea. So we have Mr. Souvik Nandi and Mr. Tathagata Samanta, who are the co-founders of the company, which is Asian School of Tea. They not only own a school, they also have, they are also ventured into entrepreneurship. They have, they trade into tea also. Okay, so they teach about tea and they also trade tea. And in this webinar, I'd like to again thank Mr. Wilson Lucas, who is our honorable principal, to give us an opportunity to organize this or conduct this webinar. And we have our F&B team who have organized this. Our HOD, Mr. Ajay Budke. We have Mr. Rahul Kanekar, who is the assistant professor. We have Mr. Rohan Shivekar, who is again assistant professor, and we have Rohan sir and Aditya sir as a backend team. Rahul Kanekar will be the moderator for the session, so he'll be asking the questions or interacting with our esteemed guests, Mr. Tathagata and Mr. Souvik. So I'll request Mr. Souvik and Tathagata to take over and introduce a little bit about themselves, how they got into this tea thing, and actually they are not from hotel background or they didn't study in school or in college about tea. It was later on during their MBA internship, I guess, they got inclined towards tea. So welcome on board, Souvik and Tathagata. I like you to carry forward from.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. Good evening, everyone. Regarding ourselves, we started tea not through education or not through childhood family business, out of passion. So Tathagata and I went for an internship in Darjeeling and tea. So we started a venture in tea, which was basically trading and exports. Then in the due course, we just found out that although we are large consumers of tea, we don't have enough knowledge about tea. So we drink it, it's more like a staple. So we decided the product that we take so much for granted, there's a need for people to learn the basics, at least, if not the details, the technical details about tea, so that they are more aware of it when they consume tea. Okay, so it should not be like you ask for a green tea and someone gives you an oolong and you don't know what it is. Okay, so and especially for the people who have joined in here today who are in the hospitality background, you require it even more. Okay, so I would ask Tathagata to fairly give you a briefing about uh, why Asian School of Tea and how we started it. Tathagata.
Yes, thank you, Souvik. Thank you, Saurav, and thank you everyone from the college. Welcome everyone who is attending the webinar today. Hopefully it will be very interesting for all of you. As Souvik already said, yes, tea is one of the most important beverages in India and also the second largest consumed beverage in the world after water. So I think we, as Indians, we all should be proud about being the second largest producer of tea. Saying that about Asian School of Tea, as Shavik was saying, we saw there's a huge misinformation, and in some cases, people don't even know about tea. So we wanted to be a part of this market, not only as business leaders, but also to contribute in a way that the market increases, the consumers can be taught in a better way. So in Asian School of Tea, our sole purpose is to give education about tea, help people who want to start their career in tea as a cafe owner or as an entrepreneur, and also people in the hospitality industry. I think it is one of the most important, because through you all who are serving in the hotels, we can get to many people and we can serve a lot more variety of good teas. So also one more important thing about Asian School of Tea is we help the small farmers through initiative where we contribute a part of the course fees to the farmers and help the small farmers. So this is our contribution, and this is how we try to help the tea industry. And hopefully we'll be able to give you some of our knowledge about tea, and you will know tea better after this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Tathagat and Shavik. I just want to remind you that I hope you received the message that everybody should have a cup of tea in your hands. So if you have the cup of tea in your hands, you can just show it like this, and you can, all of you, yeah. You can see some people showing the cup, Mr. Sanjeev. I can't see many people. Kindly show your cup, lift your cup and show it to all of us. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Mr. Rahul, who will be now asking a few questions to our panelists.
Thank you so much, Saurabh sir. It was really a very wonderful insight about the tea and how the tea has been so underrated in our country. So let me start by saying that, like, once I was asked that is in India every time is a tea time, and that made me a thought that the question which has been asked, obviously it was not asked by an Indian, but a foreign guest have asked me such question, and that day it gave me a thought about, yes, what this gentleman is saying is completely right, because tea is something which is always there in our life, be it be morning, afternoon, or even evening. And that is the first very thing which we will be talking about when we are receiving any guest at our house. That is that we want to offer them a cup of tea. And that significance a tea is having in our life, undoubtedly it is quite significant for us. And as we all are aware that it is quite underrated, because knowing the fact that tea, like right now also, it's almost past 4 and this is the right time to have a evening tea. We survive and we get maximum stimulation by tea. People prefer to have tea. As far as India is concerned, we are more tea drinking nation than be it be coffee or any other beverage. So considering that this is a very apt webinar which we wanted to go ahead as a Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Hotel and Tourism Management Studies, Navi Mumbai, where we want to give insight by the experts, those who are present with us, to give you insight about what tea is all about. And again, welcoming and thanking Mr. Shavik, Mr. present with us for giving their insight about tea. Going further, let's start with the beginning. Let's talk about tea. Let's ask these two gentlemen about what is exactly tea and what we should be knowing about tea, because for us, tea, as a tea, we know everything about tea, but as a knowledge about tea, we hardly have any knowledge about tea. But what is tea? that is a part of our life. No two ways about that. So considering that, I would request Mr. Souvik and Mr. Tathagata. So if you can give your insight about what is tea all about. So over to you, Mr. Souvik and Mr. Tathagata.
Okay. So first of all, the basic thing about tea, what we understand in the pure form, are the leaves of the species of plant called Camellia sinensis. Okay, so every kind of tea that you get is coming from the same plant. So it's the varieties that we derive is only based on the processing technique. Okay, so white tea, oolong tea, black tea, green tea, yellow tea, whatever variety you have, even pu'er, is all coming from the same plant. It's all depending on the processing technique that makes the difference. So that's the first primary basic knowledge about tea. Now, you might even ask, like, what is chamomile, or what is jasmine green tea, or other things? So these are either tisanes or herbal teas. So herbal teas are basically a blend of different herbs and teas. By tea, I mean the leaves of Camellia sinensis. And tisanes are any blend of herbs or single herbs without the leaves of Camellia sinensis. Okay, so that's the first basic knowledge. Second knowledge that you should have is about orthodox and CTC. So these are two processing techniques. So for orthodox, which is the primitive or primary method of tea processing, that is the leaf teas. Okay, so where we go through the different processes of plucking, withering, rolling, oxidation, drying, and then sorting. So I know many of these words are sounding very weird. It's going tangent over your head, but you'll soon see what they are. So that is orthodox method. And then you have the CTC method, which is the Danawala chai, which we have at home with as milk tea. So CTC stands for crush, tear, and curl, where you chop the leaves and then you roll it and oxidize it. So this is the first basic knowledge about tea and its varieties. So before we move on to the other knowledge, other points about tea, I would request Saurav sir to please play the video. So to define the, show the process and to explain the words that I said in the processing steps.
Yeah, sure. I'm just sharing my screen.
Walk inside, I would like to show you around my factory. This way, please. After the leaf is plucked from all the three divisions, it comes over to the withering trough, which is upstairs. The withering process takes anywhere between 16 to 18 hours, depending upon the type of raw material which we get. And once the leaf is withered, it comes over to this machine here, which is known as the rolling table. What it basically does here is actually gives a twist to the leaf, and in that process, the cells are ruptured, the enzymes are broken, and the flavors and the aroma of the beautiful Darjeeling tea is emitted out. So this is a process which takes anywhere between 40 minutes to 1 hour, depending upon the different types of tea which we make. At this point of time, we are into our second flush, so normally we have a rolling time of almost about an hour. So we use different pressure sequences to twist the leaf so that it gets a nice make. So in other words, this is where the make of the tea is done, and after that the tea is dropped into rung trolleys there, and it is taken over for the next stage, which is the process of fermentation or oxidization. After the leaf is oxidized, it comes over to this machine, which is the dryer. The tea is fired here, in other words, it's roasted or baked, and it stays in the dryer for anywhere between 23 minutes, and that's your made tea. The tea is done, but that's not the end of it, because after that it has to go into the sorting process where the tea is sorted into different grades. So once the tea is fired here, it is taken over to the sorting room where the tea is sorted by the women who are just sitting there, so we can have a look at the sorting room. So this is the dry mouth, and from here it is sorted into different grades, and this is what it's going to look at. So here are the different grades which we have here. This is our premium grade, which is the leaf grade. Then we have here, this is known as the broken grade. This is the fannings, and this is the dust. So basically from the dry mouth, it is graded into 4 major grades. You have the
That's really nice video, Mr. Souvik, what you have got, and that really gives you a little. He has been prepared commercially, and that really would encourage many participants to also go online and try to find a little more about how the tea is supposed to be made. So that is really nice. Now, going further, I would request both of you to just give us like why we should know what is the importance of tea in our life. Like why should we knowing about tea as a entire. I've just started by saying that it's a part of our life, and it has been accepted completely in our household, be it be a small kid to a elderly grandparent also. But what kind of importance that is having in our life? So if you could put a little more insight about that, we would like to hear it from you. Over to you, both of you.
Okay, so we now know like what are the basic terminologies and what exactly you should know about tea, and why depends on the sector. So what you should know about tea depends from sector to sector. It depends on whether you're working in the tea garden or tea factory or a trading company or in the hospitality sector. So your knowledge level will vary sector wise. So today we'll stick on to the hospitality sector, where you should know how because you need to know the basics, why it's making the difference, but you have to interact with your guests. So the knowledge you should have to communicate about tea with your guests, that will be discussed today. Okay, so I think it's all about the service and the experience that you provide to your guests that will make them feel elated or happy about the tea. It's not just a cup of tea that they have and pay you and leave. So it's about the experience that you offer them. Okay, so let's first say like there are different kinds of knowledges that you gain about wine, cheese, and other products. So tea is also basically something because it pairs with so many different dishes and foods. Okay, so and one more thing you should keep in mind is that the guest whom you're serving might as well be very well informed. So when you're talking with someone well informed, you should have that level of knowledge to communicate at par. So if someone is your guest is asking for tea guanyin and you don't know what exactly that is, and if they say I want a cup of muscatel and you bring them a cup of oolong, so that doesn't work. So when you have to see that the person on the other side is knowledgeable enough. You have to think in that way and build your knowledge to that level. And if that person is not, if the guest is not well informed, then it's your duty to educate your consumers. That will help to develop a group of or a section of competent tea consumers. So that.
Very right, Souvik. Very well said. We totally agree with what you are saying, because as a professor also we are trying to inculcate the same kind of thoughts in our students, stating what you are trying to say right now, and we can totally relate with what you are saying at this moment. That makes me ask you this thing which has been asked to us very commonly, and I'm sure you also might be agreeing with the fact that why the teas are so expensive in hotels. Like I'm talking about 5-star hotels, why the cost of the tea are been ranging anywhere between 300 plus to going up to 1,000 rupees also, as far as Indian market is concerned. So this is also something like everyone is having a cup of tea at home also, which doesn't cost maybe even 5 rupees, but why one should be going to a hotel and spend almost 100 times more than that? That is a very frequently asked question to us, and I want to put the same question to you, because this is, I'm sure many of our participants are also wanting an answer out of it. So over to both of you, anyone who would like to answer this.
Okay, I will take over. First, I will take some time to explain this, because there are several points to define it and to justify it. So I'll start one by one, so listen very patiently. First thing is, like, you asked the question, why we pay for so much for teas at luxury hotels or the cafeterias of 5-star hotels. I think that let's twist the question a little bit, and let's ask, why should the consumer or the guest be willing to pay for the cup of tea that much, or the kind of product, service, and experience that we should provide at 5-star hotels that justifies the price they're paying? So it's not only about the cost of the tea. So it doesn't mean just because the guest is paying you 500 rupees a cup, you have to serve them a tea that is 10,000 rupees a kg. So it doesn't stick only to the product or raw material cost. There are several other factors that contribute to it. Okay. So I've jotted down a few points. I'll refer to those so that I don't miss out on any. First thing is definitely the cost of the tea, or the price of the tea. So you have to have an entire range of teas. Similarly, as you do for wine, you have an entire cellar where you have collections from different tea growing regions, different varieties of wine. So similarly for tea, you have to have a wide range of choices. Okay, so it is all about the experience. So when a guest comes in and you have just a list of 5 teas in your menu, for which you don't even need a menu card, you can utter it verbally, that doesn't work. You have to have a collection which is from different wide range of sources and different countries, different varieties. So first is the product, then is we're getting slowly into the experiential part, where the person who's taking the order also matters. So you have to first see, like, whether the preference of your customer is for the tea or for the food. So if the tea is of primary importance, then you have to suggest them know their choices and preferences, and suggest them a good quality of tea as per their preference, and also see that to suggest them a food which pairs well with the tea. Now let's take it the other way. If the food is the preference for the consumer or the guest, then you have to recommend them a tea which pairs well with that food. So you have to understand which way it's going. Then as when we come to the preference part, you have to see whether the guest is a tolerant taster or sensitive taster. If he's tolerant to different kinds, to adverse taste, you can offer them sharp contrasting teas. Okay, so with a continental food, you can even offer them masala chai. But some people are not so tolerant. They are sensitive to sharp taste. So maybe with a continental food or a pasta, you can give them a Darjeeling first flush. So you have to know the taste preference. The next point is ambience. So the place where you're serving tea should be a dedicated section in the cafeteria or the restaurant. The table, the chair, the accessories, the music, the background music, the wallpapers, everything matters. So it is giving you a all-round experience. So thirdly, we come to after taking the order, pre-preparation. So before you prepare the tea, okay? Pre-preparation is the concept, like you have to keep everything organized in your kitchen or the place where you're preparing tea. I think in culinary world, you have this term mise en place, to arrange everything in place before
That's right. Mise en place.
Practice the same thing for tea. So every tea must be organized, every accessories to be used is to be organized in a proper way, so that after the order is taken, you don't go around searching for the right accessory or the right tea or the steeper or the brewer. So maintaining the order in your backend, that is the third thing. Then we come to the preparation method, where we see the major basic factor, which is a very small part in the total experience and why the customers are paying for it. But still it matters because that's what they're experiencing in their senses. The water, which is very, very important, the brewing time, the quantity of tea used. Okay, these three play a very crucial role. So if you use a wrong quantity of tea, it might go like very bland or very harsh. Then if you don't use right water, then the change might not be so desirable. Thirdly is the steeping time, which is also very important. It can be underbrewed or overbrewed. Tea is not something that you get bottled. There are bottled tea, but we are not considering it here. So you have to be very careful about the brewing time. So even 30 seconds matter. So 30 seconds of underbrewing and overbrewing makes a lot of difference in tea. Okay. Then we come to the serving part. So where we consider the accessories. Okay. So there's a whole lot of accessories to choose from when you serve tea, depending on the teas that is being served. So if you are serving an English breakfast or an Assam black tea, you serve it in a bone china or porcelain cup and saucer, like the British used to use. Then you have Gaiwan, in which you can serve the Chinese teas. Then you can have the Gongfu set, where you can serve the Taiwanese teas. Then you have, for yerba mate, you have the gourd and the bombilla, which is a bamboo stick with a strainer. There's a whole range of it. There's a Turkish teacup, an entire range of it. So why is it important? Because that is contributing to the essence of the experience. So let me give you an analogy. So if you serve wine in a beer mug, would the experience be good? No, right? If you serve whiskey in a shot glass, it doesn't look nice, right? So with every tea that you choose, the accessory plays a very important role. So if you're serving a Moroccan mint tea, choose a Moroccan cup or a Turkish cup. So it won't look good if you serve it in a Gongfu set. So similarly, the choice of accessories, then we come to the process of serving, where the first important thing is, if you have a chance to do it in front of the guests, do it there on the table. So don't make them miss the process of brewing tea. If you prepare the tea at the back end in the kitchen and bring the prepared cup, it's one type of experience, but they miss out on a whole lot of the brewing process. So bring the dry tea leaf, showcase it to them what you're using, showcase the accessories you're using, and make them like a part of the brewing process. Engage your guests. So if possible, make them brew the tea. So ask them to add the hot water. It's a very pleasurable experience to see the
adds up the experience to them also, right?
Dancing in the hot water, then the sound of pouring the tea, the steep tea in the cup. So those add on to the values. Okay. Then after this, what can it be like? As we learn from tea tasting, the sensory analysis part, with the infused leaf, you can educate a little bit. If your guests are interested, ask them and try to educate them a little bit about the analysis process. Ask them to smell the infused leaves. Tell them a bit about the background or what are the flavor notes you can find. So that is post preparation. And with all this, it contributes to, it's not about the, in branding, we say functional and the non-functional benefits. So why we pay extra, the first thing comes in our mind is like, there's 2 grams of tea and a cup of hot water, so why should we pay so much? But that's only the functional part of this, the health benefit and the taste. But there's so much, the non-functional benefits are so large. There's a psychological benefit to it, where having tea in a 5-star hotel or at your property might make them give a psychological pleasure. Then social benefit. After having that experience at your property, they might go to their friends and family and they go and tell them that we had this beautiful experience at this place. So it's not just the functional part. So it's preparation, choice of accessories, post preparation. All these things add up to the price. Okay.
That's
So I hope that justifies the
that's very well said. Really true what you are saying, Mr. Souvik. I'm sure you have pointed 5-6 points which collaborate together and gives a altogether different experience to a tea which a guest
Rahul
is
sir,
having.
I'd like to interrupt here. Mr. Souvik referred to Gongfu set quite a few times, and many of the participants might not be knowing what it is. I'll just share the image of a Gongfu.
yes.
Yes.
So this is a Gongfu set which you're seeing on the screen. It's a wooden tea vessel, you can say, used in China. So you can see how expensive it is, roughly around 15,000. Over to you, Rahul sir.
That's more insight about what Mr. Souvik was saying. So that's really nice. Now, what you're making us understand is that by good knowledge and providing good experience, guest is willing to compensate that much amount, or he is willing to spend that much amount of money for having that kind of experience. Not only tea, it is the entire experience which we are selling when we are talking about a luxury hotel or a 5-star category hotel serving of tea. So adding to that only, do you think most of the luxury brands are able to justify with the kind of pricing they are been putting as far as their beverage tea menu is concerned? Because it's not only talking about one type of tea, they do have a various types of tea which are being served. So what is your take about their justification on the menu, about what kind of costing they are putting? It is just a extension of the existing question which I have already asked you. So if you could just put little more insight about it, about how they are justifying it in a luxury brand hotel or a 5-star brand hotel of the kind of cost they are putting in. They do justify? Is it right what they are doing?
See, depends on the collection that they have. Firstly, if you don't have a good range of teas and if you don't provide that kind of experience, then of course it's not justified. But if they're keeping in mind the points that I said, that not taking tea for granted and providing that experience to the guest, then it's going to justify. Because you don't sell a lot of quantity of premium teas. Okay, so you have to go around looking for those premium teas and small batches of good handcrafted or specialty teas to have it in your collection, and for that you incur a cost. So if you have that kind of thing and if you have a trained person who is providing that experience in tea, then it's very much justified, I would say.
Okay, that gives us a good idea about justification part, because that is also something which is very frequently asked along with the price. The price is justified or not? Maybe it is expensive or not expensive, but whatever it may be, is it justified or not? So as you very rightly said, if they are having that kind of a different variety and brands of teas available, having all the different varieties, they do have that kind of a justification. Okay, that takes us to the next question which I want to put across to both of you. Little more about the different varieties of teas, because I'm sure some of our participants are also putting that in our chat box, that they want to know about little more varieties of teas. So if you just put across little thought about more varieties of teas, and as an individual or as a participant which might be related to hospitality or non-hospitality, those who are interested in knowing about more, gaining more knowledge about tea, how they can find out about different types of teas and what are the best possible source to gain the knowledge, because knowledge is something which is never ending. We need to keep on gaining it. So please give your insight, both of you, about this specific question. Over to you.
Okay,
I'll try to jump in. It was a very interesting question about the different kinds of teas. To say the least, China itself has got more than 500 varieties of teas. So when we talk about the different kinds of teas, there's a endless list. But to give you a fair idea, there are 5 basic varieties of teas, starting with white, green, oolong, black, and pu'er teas. As Souvik already pointed out, there are few more exclusive teas called yellow teas, and then there are herbal teas and tisanes. Tisanes are, as Souvik already said, it hasn't got Camellia sinensis in it, but it's a blend of herbs. So yes, the list is endless. About how you can know about tea, I would say we, at this point of time, we being Indians, we are in a fair spot to understand tea. Firstly, why I say that is because finally, because tea industry is pretty old in India. It's was started by the Britishers, so you can imagine how old the tea industry is. But for all the tea companies, the major focus was the international market, because it will be a surprise to many, I'm sure, that the Europeans started drinking tea before we did. So they started drinking tea around the 1600s, you can imagine. Saying that the main focus of the tea companies have been the European market and the American market, the Western world. So, but presently they have started getting into the Indian market a lot. So if you want to try new teas, I would say there are many good websites where they have a good variety of good range of teas. So I would say that's a good start to start tasting new teas, and there are a lot of information on the net. Try to, if you're interested, if you like tea, please start, having different kinds of teas, read about it. And even after that, if you need more knowledge, we are there for you, I would say. We already told you about the Asian School of Tea, and I think one of our main objective is to spread the knowledge of tea. We have, the video you saw is from one of our trips. So we have, tea courses where we take the participants to the tea gardens, so that, you have a fair idea about how tea is made and how we taste teas. And so basically it's a 6 or 7 days course, and we stay together and we talk about tea, we taste tea, and we are into tea for 7 days. So if you are, if the knowledge on internet or the YouTube videos are not enough for you, we are always there to help you out. I think that answers your question.
May I add something
that's really
very contradictory to an unacademic?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Regarding where you can have knowledge about tea is it's beyond the cover pages of your books. Come out of your books, more tea and learn about it. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't mark cover information about tea. Just drink it and learn about it. Information you'll find.
Absolutely.
very right, Mr. Souvik and Tathagata. It's the entire experience which we need to. It's not only the theoretical part of tea what we are talking about. We need to learn about tea practically also. We need to understand the process by actually being a part of it. And luckily, we do promote this kind of thing in our college also, where we are encouraging our students, and our professors are also involved in all these things, so that a good set of knowledge has been passed on. That is really very nicely said. Now, going further, I would like to ask, this is something which is a most commonly asked question, and I think everyone would like to know about this. Like, we all love our tea, everyone, all the participants, whoever is present right now, we all are having our own way of brewing our tea. We think that is the perfect method of brewing our tea. I'm not saying any method is right or wrong. All method is adapted by us, and that is best suiting to us. But as you are quite long associated with tea and now having a good knowledge about how the brewing of tea is supposed to happen, so can you give your insight about what is the like a preferred way? I'm not saying it's a correct or wrong way, but what is the preferred way as far as you are concerned about how the tea should be brewed? So over to you. Any one of you can answer that, please.
Okay, I'll answer that. Firstly, as you said, rightly said, that this is the most asked question. So yes, we get to hear this question from end consumers, from hoteliers, and from many people. So I'll try to answer this from 2-3 angles. First of all, as Souvik already said in the beginning of the session, we have 2 kinds of teas, orthodox and city tea. I don't want to get into the technicalities, but to give you a fair idea, one is leaf tea, which we hardly get in the market. I would say not for us, but generally in the Indian household, we don't buy leaf tea. I'm not trying to generalize, but most of the people, yes. And the other one is the Dana Wala chai, which we use for CTC. So the first thumb rule is never boil the leaf teas. The leaf teas are not meant to be boiled. The leaf teas are supposed to be soaked in water for the exact number of minutes are always mentioned on the pack. If you're buying loose tea, then please ask your shopkeeper how you should brew it. But every tea has got a different method to brew. Okay, so if you are buying a very expensive tea, and if you are making the tea not making the tea properly, then it won't taste right. As Souvik said, like 30 seconds also make a difference. So yeah, it is very sensitive. You should know how to brew it. But I gave you the thumb rule: leaf tea never boil. Now coming to CTC, also the answer was in your question. Like we all have our own ways of brewing CTC tea in our household. We have been traveling extensively in India to research about tea and talk to people about tea. And it is fascinating how differently people drink our Indian chai in India. Every state has got a different way of doing the chai. Starting from Kashmir, they add salt. North, they add lot of ginger. In Maharashtra, I've seen people adding lemongrass also. So yeah, in Sikkim they add black pepper. So it's very different. So to give you a fair idea how to brew chai, I'll love to show you a video of how we brew chai in Bengal. And as West Bengal is the highest producer, one of the highest producers after Assam in India. So I'll take this liberty to show you our way, but I'm sure I respect all the
It's really our pleasure, Tathagata. We would like to see that video.
Yeah. Saurabh, can you please play the video?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful video, Tathagata. Really very nice video, and we all can relate with that video as the kind of brewing which took place. It's more or less similar kind of brewing which we are happening and we are doing in our household. And the icing on the cake was biscuit. It takes back our memories. And memories what it is happening today itself.
Absolutely.
So that is totally blend together. That is the blessed blending we as an Indian we feel that goes hand in hand. So really wonderful video. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that video.
To soak into the
Going, yeah, sorry. That's really nice. That's really nice. I know we faced a lot of time that kind of an incident which is happening to us. Many times it was not in our control, but that is how it was. Really nice. Going further, as the entire overview of the tea, that is what was the idea about this very webinar. We didn't want to get into the technicality of the tea. For the technicality, I think the participants should be a part of a hospitality, or if they are a part of hospitality, there are various ways of getting into different learning methods. But if you're not a part of hospitality and if you're inclined to a tea and many further things, I think joining a college is a best possible option, and Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Hotel and Tourism Management Studies gives you a platform where you can excel your career in all this stream. Tea is being one of the beverage out of which, and that is why we have organized these kind of webinars where we are giving insights to many students and different participants from various verticals, where they get an insight about different field which are related to our hospitality. So thank you both of you. As far as question is concerned from my end, I am through with the question, but we still have a question which is going to be asked by our participants. So that questions will be asked by Mr. Saurabh. So I will be handing over to Mr. Saurabh for the questions which have been coming from the participants. So Mr. Saurabh, please take over.
Yeah. So the first question which we have on the chat box is by Mr. Bekal. How does the ambience matter to the service of tea?
Okay. I think the entire. Okay, I'll give you one example. You're having beer on in a beach, and you're having beer in a club. Okay. It has been proven that, like in a psychological test, that most consumers in the beach, when they visit beaches, would prefer Corona, given a set of choices, because it's ambient kind of feel, the Mexican vibe, or whatever you say. But when you go to a club or party, they choose to pick up Heineken more. So this was a psychological test between brands. So the ambience, when the ambience is changing, the preference of the consumers change accordingly. So tea also, like you will see, like most people on the streets will never go to try to find a good Darjeeling tea or an oolong tea, not because they will not find it on the streets. Even if it's available, they would choose to have the chai. But when they're in a hotel or luxury property, they would prefer to have a good cup of tea, a premium tea, a first flush maybe, or tea guanin, or Taiwanese oolong. So the ambience plays a very important role on the choice of tea. And while having the tea, the decorum, the surroundings, the music, everything plays a psychological effect on you. So if you're sitting in a club with loud music, you won't enjoy your first flush of Darjeeling. You need a soft music and good ambience, soft, like not a loud place to enjoy that cup of tea. So that's how ambience matters.
Thank you for.
Yeah, to add to that, sorry, Saurav. To add to Shauvik's point, as he rightly said, how ambience is important and how the surrounding adds to your experience. To tell you guys, tea has been the biggest, it has traveled to all the countries because of Buddhism. And tea has been associated with meditation for thousands and thousands of years. So as Shavik said, like you wouldn't enjoy a cup of Darjeeling First Flush in the loud club. It's supposed to be have in in a luxury setting or in a quite complementary ambience. So ambience is very, very important for tea.
Thanks. The next question, there are two questions actually which are little interrelated. A person has asked about, can you explain about fermentation process of tea? And our beloved professor, Mr. Aniket sir, has asked a question, what is the difference between a pu'er and oolong tea? So, difference between pu'er and oolong, and what is fermentation process?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Fermentation for tea is there are two things. So one is oxidation, one is fermentation. Don't these two things are very different. Fermentation comes into action when we are talking about pu'er tea. So it's like it happens for wine. The certain chemical compounds in tea change over the period of time, which adds to the flavors and liquor of the tea. So if you take a white tea, which is neither oxidized or fermented, it hasn't got that kind of color. The liquor color is plain white. So fermentation for tea is important because it adds to the different flavors and helps to develop color in the liquor. And
sorry to interrupt. One basic difference between oxidation and fermentation is oxidation is a chemical process and fermentation is a microbial process. So you need bacteria and yeast for fermentation. For oxidation, you don't need that. So you just need fresh oxygen supply. That's it.
Yeah. And to answer the second question, which is the difference between pu'er and oolong, right, Saurav?
Yeah.
Yeah. So oolong is semi-oxidized tea, the oxidation process ranges from somewhere around 15% to 70%. Oolong is primarily a tea which was developed in China years ago, many centuries ago, and also Taiwan is very famous for oolongs. India also makes oolongs, but oolong, if in a layman's definition, it would be somewhere between a green tea and a black tea. in terms of oxidation, but the leaves are from the same plant, but the flavors and the liquor colors are different from green and black. Coming to pu'er, pu'er is the oldest kind of tea along with green tea. So pu'er is fermented along with oxidation. So pu'ers are fermented for many years. You can find a pu'er which is as old as 20 years, 40 years, and it comes in the shape of a cake. So the fresh leaves are steamed and they are put into molds and they are compressed and they're left to ferment for years. So that's the difference between pu'er and oolong.
The other question is quite interesting. Does green tea reduces calcium from the bone?
Calcium from the bone?
Yeah. So,
okay. No, if Souvik would like to add, but according to me, yes, this had been doing some rounds. This news has been doing some rounds lately. We discussed this with many, industry professionals and also few. And also from few medical. Yeah. Can you hear me? Saurav, can you hear me now? Yeah. So, and also from a few senior medicine people, but there's no such proven, fact that it reduces calcium. If Souvik wants to add anything. Souvik.
Just a moment, there's some problem with the sound.
yeah, we can hear you. So
Okay. What was the question? Come again, please.
does green tea affect the calcium in the bone?
Does green tea affect the calcium level?
Yeah, in the bones.
Okay.
Does it
well,
reduces?
It does. Like there's something actually I wrote yesterday itself. Please do not consider tea as a medicine. Yes, it is. It has got medicinal benefits, but it's not a pharmaceutical product. It is a health product of nutritional value, definitely. But if you think like tea will help you get over arthritis or weight loss, it's not the way. If you maintain your lifestyle, your diet accordingly, if you work out, if you have dietary supplements, it will aid the process, but it will not work like magic. Okay, so green tea, if you like, it's not a calcium supplement. And at the same time, about weight loss, like I think another very relevant question for green tea is, does it help reduce weight? So I even wrote that it's definitely going to help you reduce weight, so long as you can restrain yourself from the French fries and fast food and burgers and all those things. I think there's some problem. I'll just leave the meeting and join again, please.
Yes, Souvik.
I think we can hear you, Souvik, if it is.
Yeah, we could hear you. So, okay, Tathagata, the next question is how Turkish tea is different from the others?
The process of making is different. Also, Turkey, they produce a little bit of tea, though they are solely tea importers. Like coffee, every country has got a different way to brew the tea. So the brewing method is different. The tea can be taken from Assam or whatever suitable black orthodox is necessary.
Yeah, The other question is, okay, this question I could understand. Does drinking tea affect your hungry pan or hunger pan? I guess. So I think the participant wants to know: does it affect the how you feel? Does it reduce your hunger or increase your hunger? Yes, that is.
Yeah, I think what you wanted to ask was, does it reduce the the
Right.
the sensation that you are hungry? Yes, it does. It works for us as well when we work all day and we don't have time to eat. If we drink tea, it reduces the feeling that you're feeling hungry, but it is not advisable. It doesn't fill up your tummy. It's bad for your tummy for your stomach if you keep on having tea and not have any food. So yes, it reduces the sensation of feeling hungry, but something we don't recommend at all.
Maybe you can use it as an appetizer instead of killing your hunger.
Yeah.
We have seen foreigners having tea at the end of the meal. Tea or coffee. So that
Yes.
is also fine.
Yeah. So tea, there's another reason why tea is associated with meditation. There's another reason why tea was. Is it? Can
You're
you?
audible?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
audible.
So tea helps to keep you awake. Okay, that is one reason why people drink tea or coffee after meals. There's another reason. It also helps you digest faster. Not all varieties of teas. Some people drink herbal teas after lunch or dinner. Also, if you see for dinner, some people particularly like to have chamomile tea, which is again not a Camellia sinensis, it's a herbal tea. It's a tisane. So chamomile helps you sleep better, on the contrary to other teas which helps you to wake up. So each and every kind of tea has its own benefits, and yes, there are many people who have it after food.
And it does, like, especially if you're having green tea, it does aid the digestion process. The catechins help in your digestion.
Okay, the next question is, does green tea increase the immunity? So for all those who are afraid of or concerned about COVID-19, this is a question.
I think Shavik already had a post uploaded on LinkedIn. I would ask Shavik to answer this question.
Yeah.
If you have tea like a lifestyle, if you have been drinking tea for a long time, your immunity is aggravated or enhanced. But it doesn't mean that if today there's COVID and you start drinking 2 liters of tea every day, you have a strong immunity and you don't catch it. It doesn't work like magic. So I can put it this way: start drinking tea today to be prepared for the next pandemic.
We'll move. There are many questions lined up, so I'll quickly move to the questions. What is the difference between drinking a tea which is brewed using a tea bag and loose tea leaf? Loose tea. Tea bag tea and loose tea. What is the difference?
Okay. So now there are different kinds of tea bags also available in the market, but I'm considering the normal tea bags which are served in the railways or also generally served like Tetley and Tata Tea, Taj Mahal and all that. So if you see the size of the tea bag, there is 2 grams of tea in it.
Yes.
When you brew the tea bag, there's not enough space that the tea will infuse and open up. So the grade of tea which is used in a tea bag is the smallest grade. And if you can understand, like I'm trying to explain this as simply as possible. If you break down leaves, it loses its properties, right? So in the tea bags, you will have the smallest size of tea. That itself says that the tea in the tea bag has got lesser properties of what you will get from a whole leaf tea. Now, as I said, there are different kinds of tea bags. If you can have pyramid tea bags, which has got a bigger, surface area inside. So in pyramid tea bags, you can brew whole leaf teas as well for the convenience part. Yeah.
So the other question is from Miss Seema. What's the question? Is tea good for hangover curing?
What?
Does tea cure hangovers?
It does. It does. Definitely does. Like, if you have tea with strong in caffeine, like black tea and this breakfast, it does help in getting over your hangover. But I think it depends on whether you want to get over it or not.
Okay. Yeah. We'll move on to the next question. What course you have to do, or what qualification you should possess in order to do the tea sommelier course?
Okay. For the tea sommelier course, what we say is the minimum requirement is you have passed your higher secondary and you have done your graduation. That is the bare minimum we need. We don't expect you to have any prior knowledge about botany or any kind of science field, because we do a hand-holding course about tea from the very basics to a certain level. Yeah. So graduation is the minimum.
Other question is tea and coffee beneficial without milk?
Okay. See, milk has got its own properties and tea has got its own properties. Okay. Milk was added to tea in France for the first time back in 1600s. The sole reason was so that tea becomes more nutritional. So yes, tea and milk is more nutritional, but the amount of milk we add in our tea is, according to me, it's overwhelming. I mean, we have this tendency to add milk according to how much we love our guests. So if someone very close to you is coming, you will add more milk and say, we love you more. So I don't think that's the right way to do it. You should add milk to tea, but to a certain extent, yes.
Okay. I also read somewhere that milk was added to the tea. Actually, it was showcase of social status. Those who had, somewhere I've read. Those who had option of adding milk, they used to add.
Yeah. Also, there's another story behind adding milk because the Europeans started using porcelain to serve tea. They didn't want to stain their porcelain cups with tea stain. So they added milk so that the porcelains don't pick up the color of the tea.
There's another question. Which teas to suggest depending on the guest profile. For example, if someone is complete beginner, what type of tea can be recommended as compared to someone who is a tea connoisseur?
I think depending on the level of their knowledge. So the whole point is not to prove them that they are not knowledgeable about tea, but to impart more knowledge about the product. So if someone has had the basic teas, so you can slightly upgrade their knowledge. If someone has had CTC black tea, upgrade them to orthodox black tea. If someone has had orthodox black tea from Assam, graduate them to the level of oolong, and then maybe green tea to white tea. So it's about accentuation of your knowledge level. So it's not like for beginners, I think black tea depends on the region. Indians have drunk more of black tea, so offer them black tea, but a different variety. So if they've had CTC, offer Assam. So slowly graduate them.
I hope that answers the question.
Also, I'll like to add here that ask few questions. Try to interact with your customer. Ask them if they like flowery flavor, notes or fruity notes, and give them accordingly. So tea has got a huge different varieties of flavors and profiles. So if you interact with your customers more, I think you'll be able to serve them better.
Okay, so we'll have last question as we are running out of time for the session. Is traditional tea better than the modern tea? Of course, participant is asking whether the modern method have affected the traditional natural way of making teas, like use of machinery and pesticides. And
See, I'll try to answer this question. It's a very interesting question, but the thing is, as demand increases, use of machinery becomes inevitable after a certain point of time. So I would say, see, the old traditional ways of making tea is also there to this date. There are farmers, there are tea manufacturers, even in India, very remote places, remote villages, who make handmade teas right now. So yes, there are both, but as the need of the hour, we had to change to machinery. It is important, it doesn't do any harm. The tea plants are well taken care of, so I don't think it does any harm.
yeah. One more last question from my end. Can you tell the participants that how tea is similar in ways to wine, as wine has many peculiar notes of fruit, spices, herbs. Tea also has the similar notes, which many people don't know. So just throw some light on that and then we'll wind up.
I think Shavik is the best person, or WSET2 certified person. Go for it.
No. I think it all boils down to, since it's an organic matter, it boils down to the chemicals inside it. So every organic matter has hydrocarbons, carbon and hydrogen. So depending on the structure of the hydrocarbons, you have different chemicals, and there are what contribute to these flavors are not actually, like, we are not soaking the tea, spices and fruits to give them those flavors. It's chemical compounds like esters, pyrazines, terpenes, and several other chemicals which contribute to those fruity notes, floral notes, or earthy notes. So those are the chemicals which are similarly present in the grapes also, which are used for wine. So those are the contributing factors to the flavors. So when a sommelier or a taster is saying that this tea is fruity or tastes like pomegranate or earth, it doesn't mean that we put a soak the leaves in pomegranate juice. So it's all there in the leaves, the chemical compounds.
Thanks. Just a reminder for all the participants, any question if you want to ask, you can mail us the question or WhatsApp in the WhatsApp group. We'll answer you separately. We are running out of time, and also do like our Facebook page of our college, Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Hotel Management, CVD Belapur, which is in Navi Mumbai. Kindly go to our website and see what all events we do. like our Facebook, Instagram page. Mr. Rohan sir has already put the link on the chat box, and also do provide a valuable feedback at the end. Now I'll hand it over to our HOD, head of the department, Mr. Ajay Budke sir. He'll just close this session.
Thank you very much. Good evening, all. Since all we know about tea is very simple drink for all of us in India. Right? A child from 1 year old till aged person knows about the tea, but we didn't know the roots of the tea and the deepness of depth of the tea. Right? Thank you, Mr. Shavik and Mr. Tadagada, for enlightening us with a deep knowledge about the tea in a short session. I think tea cannot be described in 1 hour. It has a huge history and huge parameters to understand, right? Anyways, thank you very much. All of you have joined, taking your time. Right? I thank our management of Bharati Vidyapith Hotel and Tourism Management, our principal, Mr. Wilson Lucas, my entire team of food and beverage department, all the faculty, and the backend support team. Thank you very much. Any questions if you have, please drop in, as Saurabh has already said, and we have many more such sessions are coming up too, right? So we'll be in touch with you to get into different topics. Thank you very much.
The recording of this session will be available. We'll share the link. It will be available on YouTube and our Facebook channel. So we'll share the link regarding. Okay, as Ajay sir said, you can drop in the questions. None of your questions will be unanswered. We'll answer all the questions. So if we have not come across the question in this session, we are sorry for that. So from here, we'd like to conclude the session. Thanks, Tathagata, Saumik, and the team of F&B, entire food and beverage of Bharati Vidyapith College, and Wilson sir. So we can sign off now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a lovely tea in the evening. Enjoy
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you so much.